Hi everybody, welcome back to a brand new video of PJ Codes. In this video, we're going to do an introduction to HTML. And the way I'm going to teach this course is basically for people who are absolute beginners, who have absolutely no experience coding in HTML or any other language whatsoever. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some very key concepts, and we're going to answer some very fundamental questions, okay? And some of these concepts, some of these questions are going to be things as what is HTML? Why do we need it? Why do we write it? How do we write it? And then we're going to touch on some very key concepts of web development, some very key concepts of what a website actually has, right? Behind the scenes, the interface. We're going to keep it very basic. By the end of the video, you're going to have a pretty basic understanding of how a browser displays a web page's content. Now, you might be thinking, hey, PJ, what's web development? You know, you talk about software development, but what's this whole web development term, right? Now, these terms are interchangeable, so they say. However, when you talk about web development, we're talking about interfaces that are basically shown in a browser, right? So like a website or web page or a landing page. And when we talk about software development, we're talking about more involved application development. And those are things we can worry about later on. For now, let's just focus on just getting basic HTML down, getting the basics right, and learning how to display a web page. So let's just get right into it. So what is web development? Web development is basically the practice of building websites, web pages, and landing pages. Now let's talk about some of the key components of web development. Now you have things such as the front end, right? The front end is everything you interact with on a website. Say you go to yahoo.com, right? What do you see? You see text, you see images, you see a structure, you see colors, you click on a link and now that takes you to another link, interactivity, right? You scroll down and you see some fancy animations. All that is part of the front end. That's what you would define as the front end of the website. Now, on a website or a web page, you have two types of information, right? You have static information and then you have dynamic information. And if you don't know what those are, don't worry about it. We'll get to those down the road. And that's where the back end comes in. Back end is just basically where all your data for your website lives. At least the dynamic data, that is. Then of course you have the browser. The browser, such as Google Chrome, Mozilla, Internet Explorer, this is the place where you actually view your web page, and it's a very integral part because without the browser you don't have a website, right? Similarly, you have the user, and there's an entire field dedicated to the user, which is UI UX, and that stands for user interface, user experience. And we can get into those things down the road as well. But let's get more comfortable with some more basic fundamentals of what web development actually involves. So you have things such as languages, right? You have HTML, you have CSS, you have JavaScript. Now, what are those? Let's just define them very briefly. HTML is basically all the text that you see on the website. You go to yahoo.com, you have a bunch of text there. All that is written in HTML. Now, when you see the colors, you see styles, you see different structures, different layouts, that's CSS. That's the styling language that is used to give a web page all its styles, all its colors, the different fancy fonts that we use. Then we get to JavaScript. What JavaScript is a language that allows you to add interactivity to your web page. For example, you click on a dialog box and like an alert box pops up. That's what JavaScript allows you to do. So what exactly is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and this is the standard language that the internet uses to display things like text, images, and links on a website. Now, I want to answer a very important question before we even jump into the meat and bones of what HTML is. Now, the question is, why learn web development? Why learn about the browser and how a web page works before we learn actual software development? The answer to that is very simple. When you work in the browser, you are working with the most integral part of web development, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And these are the technologies that are integral to your foundation in jumping into more complicated things like app development, software development, or even game development, whatever avenue inside development in general that you choose to go into, right? So it's very important that you really get highly skilled at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because if you want to get into more involved languages, into more involved development, these three technologies are really going to pave the way for you forward. Now, when we write HTML, we use something called HTML elements to dictate to the browser exactly what type of content we want to display on our website. So for example, things like a heading or a paragraph or an image or say an audio file or even say a video file, right? HTML allows you to basically display whatever kind of content you want, and it gives you a wide array of elements to choose from. And we're gonna get to that down the road. Now, to write HTML or any code for that matter, you need something called a text editor. Now, you can use a text editor that comes pre-built into your PC or your Mac, but we want to do things professionally, so you want to use something called a code editor, right? So there's a bunch of them out there in the market. There's things like there's Sublime, there's Atom, there's Brackets, and you can go on and on and on. We're gonna get into those in a minute, but you know what? I feel it's time for us to just dive right into the code, and let's just start writing some HTML. First things first, you want to open up your browser, be it Google Chrome or Mozilla, and inside the browser you're going to type in, inside the Google search, you're going to type in Sublime Text 3. Now we're going to go with the Sublime Text Editor simply because it's just one of the most simple, straightforward, and easy to download text editors. So let's just go ahead and click on the link here where it says download Sublime Text. So now with that, we're here, we're on the home page. We just want to select either one of these, whatever operating system you have. Maybe it's Mac or Windows. Just click on it and it's automatically going to start the download process. Now once you've finished downloading it, what you want to do is you want to open up Sublime Text, and once you have that open, hit Command and N, or Control and N if you're on a PC. So again, if you're on a PC, hit Control plus N, and if you're on a Mac, hit Command plus N. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up a brand new file for you. And now, once you have that, just hit Command and S, or Control S, excuse me, in order to save. And now what we're going to do is we're going to save our index.html file, and we're going to call it index. You call it whatever you want, but for the sake of this project, we're just going to call it index.html. Now this last extension here, .html, tells the browser that this is an HTML file, and this is very important. So make sure you name it index.html. Okay, and we're just going to hit save. Okay, you just hit cancel on that. They're always going to hit you with the purchase screen. Once you save that index.html file inside your folder, we're just going to open it up. All right, so let me just minimize this here for a second. Okay, now this is the folder inside which I saved my index.html file. Now what I want to do is I want to open this file up in my browser so I can actually see what I'm doing, right? I want to be able to view my index file, my HTML file, inside the browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the browser. I'm going to open up a new tab, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply drag my index.html file into the browser. And voila, right now we don't see anything. However, we will once we start writing some code. So first things first, the most basic part of an HTML file, of an index file, excuse me, an HTML file, is the actual markup. So the way we begin is by declaring something called a doc type. And the way we do that is we start with an open caret, just like that, exclamation mark, and we're going to write DOCTYPE HTML, and then we're just going to close it. What this does, doc type HTML, is this tells the browser that our current file is an HTML file. Now I have something cool where in Sublime text editor, as soon as you I'm just erase this for a second. As soon as you hit shift and open caret, and if you type in the exclamation mark doc type, or if you type in HTML, excuse me, and you hit enter, you get a full build of the HTML structure. But since we're learning for the very first time, we're just going to start by scratch. Alright, so as soon as the browser looks at this HTML file, the very first thing it's going to encounter is this guy here on line 1. And that's telling the browser that, okay, this is an HTML file. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to skip a line just for readability purposes, and we're going to open an HTML tag, and then we're going to close it. Okay, in HTML, we close every element that we open. So everything has to have an opening and a closing. And the way you denote an opening the way you discern an opening tag from a closing tag is with that guy here. On line 4, do you see that slash there? Now that just means that this is the ending tag. And we're just going to wrap everything in here. Okay, so inside our HTML, we're going to skip a line. Now, good practice is to always indent, right? So the way we do that is by hitting the tab button. So we hit tab, and now we're going to open up something called a head tag. Now the head tag is this guy here. All right, and we're going to skip a line. We're going to do the same thing. Open caret, slash, and then head. And now right after that, since we have a head, now we also need a body, right? So we're going to do open caret, body, and this inside the body is where we're actually going to write our HTML, right? Same thing, close the body tag. Okay, now we have our head, we have our body, and what's next? The feet, right? So now we're going to actually write something called a footer. F-O-O-T-E-R, footer. Hit enter, open caret, and there we go. Now we have our head tag, our body tags, and our footer tag. Now, what goes inside our head tag? Okay, now inside our head tag, we'll get into like the more detailed stuff of what goes inside a head tag, but let's just create a title tag, and I'll show you what that's going to do in a minute. Alright, so now we notice how I opened and then I closed. So I'm just going to skip a line here for readability, and I'm going to say my cool website. Okay, I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go back to Chrome, and I'm going to hit refresh. And now, if you check up top, you can't see it in my screen, but once you hit refresh, on the very top, you're going to see my cool website on the browser tab. Okay? So that's that. Now let's skip to the body tag. Let's actually write something. So now how do you write text, right? There are different kinds of tags in HTML. There's a tag for headings. There's a tag for text called a P tag, which is short for paragraph. And then you have image tags to display images, and you have audio tags as well. And we're going to explore those very, very simply. Okay, we're just going to start with a simple heading, and let's do the biggest heading size that we have, and that's going to be an H1. Alright, so type in H and the number 1, close caret, hit enter, and then we're just going to close that, and we're going to say, hi there, this is my cool website. We're going to hit save. And we're going to go back to the browser, hit refresh, and there you have it. Hi, there is my cool website. Look at you, you're a web developer. Okay, now let's go back. Now say we want to add something smaller, a smaller heading, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to type in H2. So let me just talk to you about headings real quick. You have 6, and that's 6 different types of headings. You have H1s, H2s, H3, H4, H5, and H6. H6 being the smallest. All right, so we're just gonna see that real quick. I am a smaller heading. Okay, we're gonna hit save, switch back to the browser. There you go. I'm a smaller heading. And now let's do the same thing for H3s and H4s. Just gonna make that an H3. Oops, H3 and H4. H4. I am an even smaller heading. I am way too way too small. Okay, there we go. And now we'll even do H5. Very small indeed. And let's do it the final H6. Microscopic. We're gonna hit save. There you have it, folks. So these are your 6 heading types in HTML. All right. Now it really doesn't make sense, right? Say you want to have some text that's maybe, you know, somewhere along the size of this guy here, or maybe even, you know, that H4. You don't want to keep using those H tags. You don't want to keep using those heading tags, right? So what we have, so I'm just gonna get rid of the last 4, and now we're just gonna leave these 2 here. So what we can use instead is we can use something called a P tag. So we're just gonna open caret again and type in P lowercase, close caret, and then open caret. Okay, and I'll show you something, guys. I'll show you something cool. With Sublime, you can actually enter dummy text. So in order to save us time, we're gonna open caret, type in lorem, I guess I can't get it to work right now. But what I'll do is I'll just Google dummy text, and I'll go to the lorem ipsum generator. As you can see, it's purple. I visit this a lot. Okay, we'll go to this guy here, we'll copy it, paste it in, hit save, exit out of this guy here, and now we're just gonna hit refresh, and there we go. We have some text. Look at that. We're actually coming along here. We got some pretty cool stuff that we can do to this, right? So what are we missing, right? We can add an image too. So why don't you head over to Google and type in placeholder image, right, and then click on placeholder.com. Now what this website is, it's pretty cool. When you want to build a website or an app, or you just need some dummy images, this place provides some great, you know, images that you can just hyperlink off of. So let's just go down and let's just copy this link here, right, and let's highlight it and then copy. And now let's go back to our code and let's create an image tag, which I already have, but let's do it again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up an image tag like this. We're gonna open caret, type in img, and now we can do something cool where instead of adding a closing image tag, and with image tags you can do this, and so all you do is you hit backspace and then close it. Now the way we add the actual image is you type in src, which stands for source, equal to sign, and now you just want to hit open and close parentheses, and then we're just gonna, oops, I don't know what happened there, place our, looks like I didn't copy it right. Alright, so there we go, and we're just gonna copy it. This guy doesn't want to leave me alone. Okay, perfect. So now what we do is we have our image tag, and we have to define something called a source. So we have to define actually where we're getting the image, the path for the image itself. Okay, and you write it in between quotes always, and then between the quotes goes the link to that image. So now we hit save, and then we're gonna go back to our cool website, hit refresh, and there you go. Boom, you have an image. Now, say we want to make this 300, but this is just me being picky. There we go. So now we have our images a little bigger. So that's it, folks. That's how you insert images. Now, let's say we want this image to link somewhere, right? Say we want it to link to our link here. So we can type in https:// and you know what? Let's just go back to this site here, because why not? www.placeholder.com, and we'll just say link to image. We'll hit save, go back to our browser, hit refresh, and there we go. So now when we hover over it, when we can hover over this link, we see that on the bottom left of our screen we have a display of our actual link. So now we click on it, and voila, this is our link here. So we'll go back. Now you notice what happened, right? When I click on the link, it just directly goes to that site within the same browser tab. What if we want to open up a new tab? This could greatly enhance user experience, right? So the way we do that is we can do something called, we can insert an attribute called target equals to open and close parentheses and underscore BLA and K blank. And what this is going to do is it's going to open up a new tab when you click on your link. So let's go back to our site, hit refresh, and now when you click on it, it opens up a brand new tab. So now we can toggle between our cool site and our placeholder. One of the last things we're going to cover in this video is called a break tag. Now let's go back to our awesome site for a second, and you see how we have this huge chunk of text. I feel this text is too little. We need some more text, right? So what we can do is we'll just copy that p tag. We'll just add 3 paragraphs. We're going to hit save. We're going to come back, hit refresh. All right, now you see what happens here. You have 3 different paragraph tags, right? Now say we wanted to add some more space in between these lines. So the way you do that is, let's pick a place where there's a period. We'll just hit enter, and now all you can do is type in an attribute called an element, HTML element, called BR, and what that's going to do is it's going to add a line break for you. So hit save, hit refresh, and you see how it broke that line? That's the beauty of the break element. And say we want to add one more, we can just do that, like that. Come back here, there we go. Now you have a more formatted look of your text. So folks, everything that you did here is HTML. Congratulations, you just wrote some HTML and you're on your way to become a web developer. I really hope that this provided you a good understanding of HTML. In our next video, we're going to look at some more interesting HTML elements, and then we're also going to get into styling in videos down the road as well. So right now we have 0 styling. We just have a bunch of gargoyle text, and then you have an image, and without any styles. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some styles in the next video. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I really hope you guys learned a ton about HTML basics, and in the next video we're going to get into some more detailed things. Definitely stay tuned, and please hit the like, subscribe, and share this video. And with that, have a nice day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.